Hi there, my name is Ash and I like to draw. But do you know what else I like? Tabletop role-playing games. Now, when I say that, you will no doubt think of Dungeons & Dragons right away. And sure, I love myself some D&D, even if I haven't played it quite as much as some people I know. But when it comes to tabletop RPGs, there are actually a few things I haven't tried. Like being the DM. One of the reasons is that as much as I love D&D, I find that too many players have a very specific idea in their head of what a D&D campaign should look and feel like, and it can be a bit hard to get them to shake that off. And that's a bit of a bummer, because I prefer to work within my own fantasy worlds where a player can't really rely on their encyclopedic knowledge of the rulebook or the monster manual in order to know how to handle every single situation. I have also only very rarely gotten to play any other rule sets besides the tried and true D20 that we all know and love, even though I really would like to. What can I say? I just think it's fun to try new rule sets. So I decided to kill two birds with one stone and run my very first one-shot as a DM using an old rulebook I've had lying around since I was a teenager. And while I may be inexperienced as a DM, I can do one thing that most DMs can't. I can draw my own monsters. So that's what we're doing today. My one-shot has 3 combat encounters with 3 different creatures, and they all need some good old-fashioned visual aids. Let's go. In my adventure, a small village's main source of clean drinking water, a lake in the woods springing from a river, has become poisoned. With no sign of help arriving in time, the players are tasked with finding the source of the water and purifying whatever it is that's contaminating it. Now, any good fantasy setting needs 1 or 2 species that work as weak cannon fodder, but since I think we're all getting pretty tired of goblins, I decided to come up with my own. Say hello to the Vargir, primitive humanoid crow vulture-like creatures who feast on unsuspecting travelers and other easy prey, and who are conveniently immune to poison. Oh, and by the way, I decided to keep all these drawings grayscale in order to preserve the feel of flipping through an old rulebook. The players will have the option of encountering a small group of Vargir fighting over who gets to eat the remains of the messenger the village sent off for help a few days ago. Not that these creatures are meant to be a particularly big threat, they're really just there to introduce the combat system and to let the players feel like badasses in their first fight. They are very loosely based on the Valravn, a cursed raven from Scandinavian folklore said to be able to turn human by tasting a child's blood. And also on the moronic rat monsters from Jeff Smith's Bone. Which, if you haven't read that comic, go do so right now. It's magnificent. So, yeah, nothing too special here. Just some flightless, scruffy-looking birdmen for the players to beat the crap out of. The next encounter, on the other hand, gets a little bit more intense. As the party follows the river deeper into the woods, they will find that it leads to a cave. Here they may hear a high-pitched whimpering that, if they follow it, takes them to their next encounter. A ferocious giant bat who is, probably not surprisingly, very much based on Man-Bat from DC Comics. Now, I wanted this bat creature to give off the vibe that it would have been a boss monster if it hadn't been weakened by drinking the contaminated water. So it's a fair bit tougher than the Vargir, even in its weakened state. Since it's ill, stuck inside a cave and has been driven bats, haha, it won't actually be doing any flying, just wildly lunging and clawing at whoever attacked it last, which may give players a strategic advantage if they're smart. Either way, I just love the wild energy this guy has. And as a reward for beating it, they can find the creature's last victim and his axe in case they need a second weapon. But as the party delves deeper into the cave, they finally find the source of the poison. A little lake now inhabited by a giant pestilence toad, oozing muck and poison out of the pores on its back. I have an inexplicable fondness for monstrous frog creatures, and I've had this mental image in my mind for years, so it's great to finally get to use it. Just this large, gross toad with a clubbed tongue that it can use both as a melee weapon and as a ranged attack. Mwah! Love it. Combine that with a thick, warty hide that serves as armor and the ability to jump all the way across the cave in one leap, and this guy is definitely designed to give my players a run for their money. But hey, what is a boss fight without a few surprises? Those pores on the toad's back don't secrete poisonous muck for no reason. They're actually storage for the Pestilence Toad's eggs. And at random times during the fight, one of those eggs may hatch and give birth to a little tadpole creature, which sadly I didn't get around to drawing. Not that they're intended to be any real threat, they're just there to spook the players a bit and possibly give the less combat-oriented characters a chance to feel cool by killing an enemy or two. By the way, when I actually ran this adventure, one of my players decided to try and grab the frog's tongue and cut it off using the axe that they found in the bat's lair. He rolled super well, so I allowed it. And it resulted in him chopping the tongue clean off, after which the other player decided to be a total badass and use it as a flail for the rest of the fight. And that, my friends, is why DMs need to let their players cook. And that's it! With the Pestilence Toad defeated, the party is free to cleanse the water using a blessed vial from the local priest, and their village finally stands a chance of getting back on its feet. And those were the 3 monsters I came up with for my first one-shot as a DM. Now, it was a pretty short game, it only took about 2 hours to play, and it definitely wasn't the most ambitious thing ever, but I like to think it went pretty well, and I really like my monsters overall. I want to know what you think too, though. Which monster was your favorite? Does this sound like a cool adventure to you? Should I write and DM a longer campaign? Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to hit the like button while you're at it. And so there's nothing left to say but happy gaming, my fellow tabletop warriors, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.